Okay, welcome very much to Conversations. Pleasure to welcome to the program Sensei. Is that what it's called? Sensei?
Sensei means teacher, but you can refer to me as Hanshi.
Hanshi,
Yeah, that's the highest rank attainable in the martial arts world.
Okay, very good, very
it's
good.
It's a position of honor. You don't decide to be a Hanshi when you're a kid, you know. You're elected into the position by
well, we'll
peers.
Be talking about that,
absolutely.
But the other name is Stephen Kaufman. He's here, and he's going to become, he's had some truck and he's thinking of doing programming here at MNN. And Stephen, welcome very, very much.
Thank you very much for having me here, Hal.
I looked a little bit at your site. I'm very distracted by a whole lot of things in my life, but I think that you picked up on the martial arts when you were in Okinawa. But could you, before that, share just in brief kind of way your background? Born and raised, a little your education,
gotcha.
And then let's talk about karate and the martial arts.
Good. I'm a Brooklyn boy, you know,
okay, right,
and I went into the Air Force after high school in the middle 50s. And while I was there, they transferred me to Okinawa.
Okay, yeah.
And there I got involved with the culture, and I found the martial arts, and it's been a lifestyle, essentially, ever since.
I see, yeah, that's the southern island down there.
Well, it's, the Ryukyus,
yeah. Right,
well, now
right,
it's back, Japan owns it
and
now.
it was a thing that you picked up on. Had you been educated before you went in the military? Were you an enlisted man, or officer?
I was an enlisted man. I had been familiar with the martial arts, if you will, from some of the guys who were coming back from World War II that would show the kids on the block how to handle certain situations.
Right.
But I didn't know that I had a natural talent for it.
I see. Okay,
it was just one of those things that developed. You know?
Good. And then maybe you could share with us, because as I've confessed to you before we start rolling tape, I don't know very much about this subject area, but I find everything interesting, but it's really interesting in ways that might be even relevant to the current human condition and so forth. The philosophy behind, let's say, is it in the tradition of the Japanese islands? Is it in the tradition?
No.
Of the
Okay.
East,
First of all, the martial arts are essentially a universal thing.
Are they?
I mean, every culture has its form of martial arts. The reason karate became prominent was because it was the first one, essentially, that was really being promoted, if you will, by folks coming back from Okinawa, Japan, Korea, China. So it took on the cast of being Asian. It is Asian as far as those particular disciplines.
Right.
But the Russians have some, the Israelis have some, the Americans have them. It's called World War II hand-to-hand combat.
Well, that's a different kind of thing, isn't it, in a way? Because you have this, and it goes back, it's ancient.
Yes, it is.
It's part of a philosophy.
Yes, it is.
What was it, Shinto or something? What did it come out of? And I know it also has, it's not just only martial arts in terms of combative relationship, but it also has a philosophy behind it and so forth that we want to talk about. But it's part of a spiritual tradition, is it not?
Okay, well, essentially, rumor and legend has it that it came out of India.
Okay.
From there it went to China, became Kung Fu. It spread in all different directions and, went to Okinawa, and then it went to Japan had their own forms of self-defense, but karate made a prominent position for itself there in the early 20s with some of the Okinawan masters. But then they also had Kung Fu masters in China going back hundreds and, I don't know, maybe thousands of years.
China goes back 5,000 years.
It certainly does. It certainly does.
And then we've been brought up on things like Kurosawa, the Seven Samurai, and the traditions, the proud traditions that are part of that.
The Zen aspect,
Zen, Maybe you could help set us, myself certainly, and much of the audience who might not be familiar with how it sort of fits into the world culture and where.
Oh, all right. The whole idea, Zen or the martial arts?
Well, what are the martial arts, and what are the sources of it, and what are the connections to it in larger cultural terms?
Okay, the connections between Zen and the martial arts are that it enables you to develop a consciousness of stillness.
Consciousness of stillness.
Yeah, and it also enables you to become very aware of yourself and, to know where you're going and what you're involved in and how to handle yourself in different things.
Really? Okay.
One of the things that I was able to do was I interpreted Musashi's Book of Five Rings.
Okay, well, I'll hold it up, and we're going to try and show you. You've written something like 37 books. We'll
37 books, at least.
We got 10 or 11 of them here. We want to destroy them. But I'll hold this up. We may do it all at once, or we may do it. But I'll hold it up and let's show it. Talk to this.
Okay, the Book of Five Rings. Musashi's Book of Five Rings is the fundamental book on mortal combat, how to handle yourself as a swordsman. Now, it was used in the early days as a guide to being a mensch.
Okay,
a mensch, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's written it's broken into five parts: earth, water, fire, wind, and the void. Now, I have my particular version happens to be the best-selling version in the world.
What is it? Is this a book that comes down out of history, or is this one that you did? Or
now, this is a book written by Miyamoto Musashi, who was considered Japan's greatest swordsman.
Oh, he's contemporary.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, you're right.
Now, as to whether or not he actually penned it, this is moot.
Okay, yeah.
The teachings that he gives here, of course, were passed on for generation to generation. And essentially, it got to a point where all the different versions of it were getting to a point that, like, they kept contradicting each other.
Yeah.
I got involved with this. My students were asking me questions based on the other versions of the book that were available. And they said, "What? This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense." I said, "Let me see this, man." So I started reading it. I'm going to cough.
Go ahead.
Do you have a,
I'm sorry, I don't have
edit it out. What can I tell you? No, I'm covered.
Right.
And what happened was, all these different questions kept coming up, and I kept telling them, I said, look, one of the issues here is that the people writing these interpretations and translations essentially aren't living the life. So therefore, they really don't know what's going on.
Right.
The publisher, Tuttle, who is the preeminent publisher in this genre worldwide, had taken a look at my particular version, and they got right back to me and said, "Where'd you get this?" I said, "Well, that's what it is." Now, the person I was working with would read me from the actual original what was written. Okay,
yes.
And I would just go back to them. I say, okay, that may be what's written, but that's not what it means.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I did an interpretation of the actual meaning of Musashi's mentality.
Yeah, but Musashi, now I got confused. Forgive me. He's a living person, or is this coming down over the centuries?
He's been dead for about 500 years.
Okay,
now.
okay, that's different. I'm sorry, I got confused. I thought you were talking about somebody who was living now. This is a classic, like we could read the Talmud or something, or we could read the Bible.
Like Plato or something like that.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. Okay, right. Okay, and you made.
And this book became the essentially the business Bible of the Japanese culture, and they said you're going to become management or anything like that, so you have to study the Book of Five Rings.
These things can be applied to the real
They
world.
can be.
Yeah,
they
right.
can
These
be.
lessons that are met, and there's a wisdom there.
Absolutely,
and this would be something that would inform those characters who were in the movie Seven Samurai and so forth.
Yeah, you could say that.
It's romanticized and everything, but that's true. And there's wisdom there.
Indeed,
as well as, things that are psychotherapeutically relevant to leading a full actualized life, I believe, don't you?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and that's important, right?
Indeed.
Okay, well, that's good. This is one of the books. This is one of the many books you've written.
Then the publisher said to me, "Can you
do?" This one's famous now. Here's a famous book that everybody knows about.
This is also from Tuttle, Sun Tzu's Art of War, and I gave it the same treatment. I mean, instead of getting into like these huge tomes with 400 or 500 pages.
Well, there was a book that was attributed to him. Like
the original book, The Art of War. But as to whether or not Sun Tzu actually lived, that's another.
It's not known. That's not known. Sun Tzu, he's famous in all.
Of course, he's famous. Yeah.
But it's questionable whether he actually listed or he's just.
Well, all right. What does Sun Tzu mean? Sun means war. Tzu means man.
Come back to it a second, Josh, if you can. Yeah, I'll hold it up. Yeah, go ahead. That's interesting, and this is your interpretation.
That is my interpretation
Would this be
of Sun Tzu.
something like Talmudic interpretation of the Torah or something like that?
I've started working on the third book of the Bible, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay. But this is a famous book that's it's read by one and all.
Yes, a lot of people read this. This particular version is used by many corporations, a lot of military organizations.
Exactly, because
my version, essentially.
Your version.
My version, yeah.
These sold well. Both of these sold well.
Very well.
Okay,
yeah. They just continue to sell. Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Particularly important, and we do want to get into some of the philosophy. Of,
we will.
You got in many of the movies that you see and so forth. You've got somebody who seems very small, but by having a certain kind of focused mentality and position, is able to overcome major forces of evil or something like that.
That's a nice way to put it. Yes, I like that.
That's part of the overall context.
Yes.
Of that. And that's important, maybe in political or business or any other kinds of terms.
In any aspect of life.
So it's got a context beyond just the martial arts. You
know? Yeah. Oh, way beyond that.
Way beyond. Okay, that's good.
Essentially, what happened when I had finished The Rings and the Art of War, we were talking about the next book, okay, and recently the publisher has decided they're going to republish it, re-edit it, okay? It's called The Shogun's Scroll. Okay. Now, essentially, Rings is for individual Mortal Kombat. War is for management, okay?
Management or war making.
Or, the Shogun's Scroll is about ownership.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like I own it. Now you work for me. I'll read the scrolls. You read Art of War and have your guys read the Rings. You know,
see, I'm informed by movies and things, and the Shogun would be also, isn't that honorific for a person of great authority?
A Shogun at the time, you know, and it ended in the 60s, 70s with the whole shogunate.
Like emperor or general or something.
So it's the emperor, the shogun, and everybody else.
Oh, I see. Okay, and the way Japanese culture was organized, is that correct?
Yes.
And these traditions, are they Japanese? Are they Chinese? Are
They're
they Chinese?
Japanese.
Japanese, yes. Strictly Japanese. Is that the real?
The shogun is Japanese, yeah.
The shogun and the discipline that you're involved with, the tradition of that, is it basically Japanese source of that, or geographic?
It began as Japanese, it went to Chinese, now it's primarily universal. I'm a universalist.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Good. Yeah.
After I had done that, they said to me, well, what would come after, like, Mortal Kombat management, I guess, if you want to call it, ownership? I says, well, you got to get into the heaven aspect.
Well, wait a minute, if I may. Shogun, ownership. Why could you?
Because the shogun controls the country.
Okay, and the owners of a country, or
no, the owners of the companies.
The owners of a company, but the owners of a country. There was a high order of authority that was held by the shogun.
Yes.
And so forth. So it had political implications beyond just business or something like that.
Definitely, sure, yeah.
Leadership.
Leadership, yeah.
But ownership you linked it to.
Well, I lead it to ownership because it's
legitimacy.
Legitimacy, yeah. And what's happening here, the aspect of the shogun, the subtitle of the book is on controlling all aspects of the realm.
Okay, yeah.
Now the warlord would control certain segments.
Yeah, okay.
But the shogun was in charge of the whole thing.
He was the top person. Yeah. So it's a strong. Okay, that's really interesting because it comes down to us. And again, I associate with Japan the term, but I don't know. Maybe I'm being too parochial and everything because it does have it does. These implications of this one, Art of War and so forth, is being read by people at Bear Stearns and the
that's correct.
And all of that to get an advantage. Right?
Some of them even have an idea of what it's about.
Does the ownership in the terms of which you use shogun refer to the institution that would come into political economy thinking, or that ownership?
The president of the corporation.
No, president of ownership of capital assets, private property.
Sure,
kind of issue. And is there a philosophy that would fit into that dialectic, as it were, that's operative in political economy, to the political arrangement, the private sector, public sector? That
sure, it's the same thing.
Things come up.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing. After that, they said, well, what would you talk about after, like, ownership or, presidencies and shoguns?
Ownership of the whole realm is what you said.
Ownership of the realm. Ownership of a particular situation. Ownership of a corporation. The CEO.
Yeah, CEO.
The
Okay.
chairman of the board.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to translate that ownership into political economy and everything. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that, but I understand.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll
okay.
Get there, okay.
Yeah, proceed. This is very interesting.
The next thing I did was, you've heard of Lao Tzu.
Oh, of course.
The Tao Te Ching. I did my version, my interpretation of the Tao, with 81 original poems.
Yeah, right.
81 original purports.
Beautiful.
And this is an exquisite book. Yes, this is a very fine book.
Yeah, but the Tao and
the Tao, yeah, it's a Taoist.
Was a major contribution to improving the human condition. And
it was, yeah,
major.
Yeah. Yes, it was. The Tao is as important as anything you can imagine. I mean, it's much more important than a police state, kind of a thing like that.
To have an example.
Yeah, you're talking about universal realities.
Yeah, exactly. I like talking about universal realities, and it's interesting to me. If I could, I've done a lot of programs in China. I don't know if you relate to China.
I certainly do. Yeah. Well, this is China. The art of war is China.
They have something. They have in the Vedic tradition of India. They have a thing called prana.
Prana. Yeah, that's truth. Yeah.
In the China or in that part of the world, they have qi.
Qi.
And they have
yes.
a thing called qigong. Very popular as an exercise thing and all that. And I had done programs often where I would do a program with people. I think we could put this down now.
Please,
okay?
yeah. We've got a whole bunch more to go through there.
And I used to do programs, and I'd say to the people, somebody's got they're big-time muckamucks, CEOs of big deals and everything. They're a little nervous about television. I used to say, well, if you don't like what the program is at the end, I won't air it, as a way to assuage their upset about. They might say, and I said I do that, and I never had anybody ever say that, even with great big people. I mean, important people.
Well, if you're secure in your own self, you don't have to worry about that.
Well, no, if they are, but if you make a mistake, it could be you could lose $1 million contract or something along those lines. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But the only ones that ever did say that they didn't want me to air the program after I did it was a group of people from China who were practitioners of qigong.
How about that?
Okay, and what they were worried about, they have this Falun Dafa.
Falun Dafa, right.
And the thing is that apparently in China, I'm just interested, China has a political organization, its religion is Marxism. They claim to be the sons of Karl Marx. The new prime minister, or the new head of the state is an expert in dialectical materialism, understanding the philosophy of Karl Marx. They claim that. And so it's perfectly all right for them to practice qigong if it's strictly health. But if it relates to anything that has to do with Lao Tzu or Confucian or anything spiritual that's going to step on the toes of their religious commitment to Marxism, they won't tolerate it.
Well, they won't tolerate it because they're trying to maintain control, obviously.
Exactly. But do you see the implications
of course,
of that?
Yes.
In terms of Lao Tzu? Because these things have meaning universally, as you say, but they also have political implications in terms of that one instance I was giving you. I wonder if you could comment on the fact that are they losing their ties to the ancient cultures, Lao Tzu and Confucian and so forth, the Shinto or the others, in the modern world, in that part of the world, and just focusing upon the dialectic with Marx and that kind of thing? Or what do you think?
I think what's happening is that people have beaten themselves over the head so many years, and they've gotten to a point where they really don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm not saying that they're stupid. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
But you keep getting all these different variations of a particular reality.
So you have to try to straighten out on some of these.
Well, I do.
Yeah, good.
Somebody's got to do it, right?
That's what they call information overload.
That's right.
This is
the same. No, it's the same way.
Norbert Wiener was the father of all things cyber, which is kind of important these days. And I had a friend who was an investment banker, was in the room with his dad when they coined the term cyber. It means spearsman. And it was information overload permits pattern recognition.
That's right. Well, you see what's happening now. People are walking around with these imbecile things plugged into their heads, okay? And what they're doing is they're freezing their brain. Okay, because they keep hearing the same thing over and over. Whether or not it's right or wrong is irrelevant.
Mostly trying to sell
babies. Exactly. So what's happening is that they are stultifying their own creativity by that.
Well,
now, that would be the first ones to argue about that, but I'll take the position that they are. And the reason they're doing that is because when you really want to accomplish something, you have to go into an area of relative silence. So you can let all these idiotic thoughts out of your head.
Well, that's it.
And if you're not going to let these thoughts out of your head, they're just going to stay there, and they're going to continue to coagulate and clot your brain, man.
Okay, that's interesting. If I may, Stephen, that resonates with me as being something like Kipling said, "East is east and west is west."
Yeah, and they both are the same.
Shall meet. No, he said never the twain shall meet.
Well, he was incorrect.
He also said, yeah, maybe they could well be.
Yeah.
If you have a questioning mind, happy to hear that critical thinking. That's really good and everything. But I mean, he took that position, and there is a difference when you get to the Vedic and so forth in terms of. Seems to me they thought consciousness was. Eternal, and the material world emerged out of consciousness, whereas the Western world, with its technology, more or less has said the material world, evolution, we can understand things scientifically and so forth, and that the consciousness grew out of that, and it's a combination.
Okay, here's the situation.
And where is that
with
all going in terms of world culture?
First of all, this relates right back to the yin-yang thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I know for a fact, and so do many, many illuminated people know, there is no such thing as yin and yang.
Okay.
Which is not to suggest that yin and yang does not exist. And I'll say that again.
That's a contradiction, young man.
It is not. Pay attention. There's going to be a test.
I'll pay attention, Sensei.
There is no such thing as yin and yang. Which is not to suggest that yin and yang does not exist. Now, when you take that premise, when you take
conundrum.
that, whatever you want.
Yeah,
okay,
go ahead
okay.
and mess up my mind. Yeah,
I'll handle that in a minute.
Yeah.
The problem is everybody relates things to either yes, no, good, bad, right, wrong, dialectics.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Yeah, we're
the problem with dialectics is it's either a completeness or it's an incompleteness.
Yeah.
You can't say 98% of something.
Right. Okay.
It's either you are or you are not.
Right.
Now, if you're going to get involved with the duality principle, the duality principle is going to force you to make a decision based on the experiences that you have had in your life. If you get to the point where you self-enlighten, not read a book, but you self-enlighten. No, let me go here, man. Where you self-enlighten, you're going to see that there is no such thing as yin and yang. And you just conduct yourself accordingly, that I am going from point A, not to point B. That's where the confusion arises. Wherever you are is point A. To go to another point, you must relate this point to that point. So you go from A equals A. Once you start delineating A and B, you're confusing yourself because you're trying to figure out the proper steps to take.
What is yin and yang? Once I associate with male and female, and that's another principle in which you can divide up reality, right?
Hang on, man. I understand you don't edit the tapes here, man.
No, I don't edit the tapes.
Okay, so I'm going to blow my nose.
Blow your nose.
Knock myself out. Right, there you go.
He blows his nose, and we won't show that.
You
got it.
Yeah, no, I have found out the only way to have any fun in life
is
to have fun in life. You got to have a sense of humor, man. Because when you look around, you can't take any of this seriously.
Yeah, right.
What are you kidding me, man? You mean I'm not smart enough to do better for myself than I am? What are you kidding me? No, so you just get to a point where you start to illuminate yourself. And that comes down to the next thing that I have found as an extension of my martial arts training. I don't like the word martial arts. Arts connotes entertainment. Art, entertainment. I talk about martialism. Martialism is a much more severe approach to yourself. As long as you are able to come to terms with the tragedy of your own inconsequence.
Yeah, I know. That's another thing. They got a different.
You got to come to terms with the tragedy of your own inconsequence, man. And then you find out, wow, you really are the center of the universe.
And there is an interest in the East and the West on those two issues, don't you think?
No.
You don't? Okay,
no,
you don't
I think what's happening here is it's the same thing with the male-female principle.
Well, that's another one we divided up into.
But if the male thinks in terms of not being a female, but being as the female, then all the disharmony in the relationship goes away.
I have a guru, right? You have gurus, I guess, Latsu and everything, and that.
Yeah.
Mine that I liked is a guy named Bucky Fuller. I don't know if you're familiar with
Buckminster Fuller, of course. Yeah,
best mind in my mind that I can ever come up with. He was just absolutely great. And he used to say everything's tensegral. You got tensegrity, and you've got a thing where you've got. Imagine a soccer ball. And that's the geodesic dome, famously.
It's geodesic dome, absolutely,
the most efficient way to enclose space. It mirrors nature, right? And
yes.
it exists apparently even at a molecular level. That things are tensegral. You've got compression, which incorporates the whole, like
yes.
that. And then 650 million years ago, all life on the planet was in the form of unicellular spongiform. We know this from science now.
Yeah, but the science know it from fact.
No, they know it from understanding. All right. That's
okay.
No, well, we have a. Well, anyway, the thing is that so you could take a metaphor. That's a long time ago. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's the year, but it was there, and you could take it and you could say that that's. Let's say it's flat, okay. And it would be female and it would be, this is cool. Let's just be vernacular.
Okay.
And the spongiforms would say, this is cool.
I like
Let's
it.
make it good. Let's put up some curtains, right? And make this really nice.
Let's see if it feels good.
It's
man.
what they call steady state.
Okay, yes.
And it's steady state, and then but there is an impetus that goes through it, vertically,
okay.
like that, male, and it goes through. And what the world's looking for is one that does not go on one particular small pattern of that, but informs the whole.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's what we're looking for now down at Wall Street.
Well, you're looking for
You're looking for a thing,
what do you call it? The singularity thing. Yeah,
singularity's coming. Ray Kurzweil, you know.
Yeah, Kurzweil.
Kurzweil's great. I love Kurzweil.
Yeah.
He's coming, and we're coming to a point like that, and it happens in evolution that you get to a point where you're punctuated equilibrium, and the new appears. Okay, this is materialistically understanding evolution and science and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So those two things exist, and you need both in a way. In order to understand things, it seems to me. Mm-hmm. And that's my interpretation of that does seem like a singular, and there are these differences and so forth, but I didn't mean to get off on that, except I'm just trying to understand how east is east and west is west and never the twain shall meet. It says that's a difference of opinion. That's dialectic in a sense.
That's right.
And you're saying the dialectic
doesn't exist.
Does not exist.
That's correct.
But it may. What is it?
If you wanted to, it does.
Oh, if you wanted to.
But if you have it together, it doesn't. Yeah.
Also, you're talking about self-actual. You wrote a book about self-something or other.
Self-revealization.
Self-revealization, not self-actualization.
No, self-reveal.
Not that, but self. God, cough away.
Oh, well, man. Yeah, well, we're going to order, man.
It's only you're among friends.
That's right, man.
Right. It's family. It's family.
I love it, man. Do you serve food Saturday?
No, it's coming.
No, Saturday night. You're going to have food at the party?
We'll have whatever's there. Yeah. Okay, let me show you.
Man.
There's another book he's written. This is called Talk to the book.
Self-Revealization Acceptance. Your divine right to live in joy and freedom. Now, this is an introduction. We'll get into it. See, there are a lot of things that you don't understand because you've been told you don't understand.
Oh boy, there's an awful lot to understand.
No,
that's a joke, son. That's a joke, son.
That's right. There's absolutely nothing to understand.
Oh, okay. Well, that's another way of putting it.
Okay, there's nothing to understand, and the reason there's nothing to understand, which is going back to like my version of the Book of Five Rings, the last book in the Book of Five Rings is called Void, and the reason I'm using the word void is to express the intention to the audience. Mm-hmm. Every edition of the book that ever came out, to explain the last chapter, use the Japanese word ku. K-U, ku.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Ku means nothing.
Okay, okay.
And of course, as soon as I saw that, I knew it was incorrect. You want the word mu.
Okay.
No thing.
No thing.
Not nothing. Not nothing. Nothing is something by definition.
Yeah, right, okay.
No thing, what? Okay, so no thing puts you in direct communication
Right.
with the, I like to call it the CPU, the creative power of the universe.
Instead of the computer.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And that's exactly what it is. And we're trying to emulate that as people.
Did you trademark that? Have you got that registered?
I got it all registered, son. I got it all registered, man.
Okay.
It's all trademarked and registered, the whole thing, okay, man?
Shucks.
Okay, yeah, well, there you go.
Copyrighted.
And copyrighted.
All right.
Yeah,
With
and
good lawyering, I hope.
And no, and it's backed up with some serious psychotic enforcers. I mean, okay. Who will come to your house in the middle of the night? Okay. After I did that, I wrote the companion volume to it, which is Practicing Self-Revealization Acceptance. This is 52 weekly ascensions to empower your life. Ascensions, yeah. You don't want consciousness. You want raising.
Raising. Okay, talk.
Raising. You want to ascend to a higher level of being.
That's what the evolutionary process maybe is, or not. What do you think about evolution as is understood scientifically?
From a purely scientific, I think it's a quaint notion.
Quaint notion, okay.
Yeah, okay,
You
yeah.
have that attitude toward a lot of things that are taken as really important by a lot of people? You understand what I'm saying? Quaint notion is kind of dismissive, right?
That's exactly right, yeah.
Lives their whole life
because
by
let me
that
tell you
principle.
something. When you start to over-intellectualize on something...
Well, if somebody's an intellectual, I mean...
There's nothing wrong with being an intellectual. I'm an intellectual. I'm an intellectual, you know, okay. You know, I have a functioning brain.
Yeah, it does.
Much to the chagrin of a lot of people.
Right.
What happens is, when you start giving credence to a particular school of thought,
paradigm
paradigm, we'll use that, that's good.
Well,
then you are becoming entrapped by it, which is why organized religion is an absurdity, okay? With all of its,
and political philosophizing?
Political philosophizing is also absurd because the primary reason for man's existence,
okay, tell me.
Okay, is to get along with his fellow man. Once they do that, the competition is put aside and the creativity expresses itself, which elevates the condition.
You sound like an artist.
Like a what?
An artist.
An artist?
Yeah, an artist. Like Jimmy Joyce or people like that. You sound like the James Joyce. Or like an artist or Allen Ginsberg. And,
but the point is, I also have my feet grounded in reality. I know what I got to make the rent every month. You understand?
Right.
So I'm not going to say, oh wow, heaven's going to pay the rent, man. Yeah. Oh wow, it's not happening. In order to really appreciate the fact that heaven will pay the rent. You have to get up and go get the means to pay the rent.
Oh yeah, well that's very practical.
See now it's a very practical thing. Now what you're having now in society, you're having in society, universally, globally, as you will, is a lot of people being upset about the fact that there are haves and have-nots.
It's always been like that, hasn't it?
It's always been like that. Again, there's no such thing as yin and yang.
Yeah.
Haves and have-nots. I have. Do I have as much as you? Who cares? Do I have as much as him? It doesn't matter. I am not a have-not. A have-not is a very, very, very demeaning way of thinking, man. Okay?
Yeah.
What do you have not?
Well, let me put it to you.
Specifically,
let me put
Harold.
it to you. They've got a lady in Somalia or something, and posited it against the fact that we have an incredible capability of providing all the things that are needed to sustain a life. And she has two lovely children, and she has to decide which of the two children she's going to let starve to death because there's not enough food for two. There's only food enough for one.
You know what
that would be a conundrum, would it not, for her?
No.
Or it wouldn't.
No, and I'll tell you, it's an incorrect way of thinking.
Okay.
All right? Because at the same...
It's practical reality for a lot of people.
Based on their acceptance of it. Self-reveal...
it's their fault.
It's their fault.
It's not the fault of the landlord who took...
No, it is not.
Took all the grain.
No, it is not.
Sold it for a profit.
No, it is not.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why it is not.
Tell me why.
Okay, because they are listening to the imbeciles. You know, what is it? It's rich people paying rich people to tell the middle class people to blame it on the poor people.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's been the case.
And see, the problem with that is based on the no, man. The problem with that is based on the idea of everybody listening to everybody else. If you were a true anarchist, man, a true anarchist,
Did you know
you would know. No, let me go here, man.
Go.
You would know that the universe was created specifically and exactly for you. It was created specifically and exactly for me. That is why I know that I am that. I also know that you are that. There is never a need for conflict. However, if you are weak-minded, I'm just talking in generalizations here.
Right.
You say, well, I want this, so why? So you can't have it? This is a schmuck. Okay? Okay. I have all of this.
Vernacular.
I'm known for up front, man. If you have, okay, and you want more, go get it. If you don't have, it's because, and here I know I'm going to get a lot of mail on this one, man. Okay.
Here comes karma.
Here comes karma.
Karma, karma. That's brought up. Yeah,
that's a real hand job altogether.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. You know that, right?
I agree with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karma.
I think it's all a con job.
It is like karma. Hey. What goes around comes around.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Or you're suffering for past life experiences.
Excuse me. What I did in my last life. Later for that. I'm not worried about my next life. I'm not. What happens when I die? I don't know, man.
You only be here now, Alpert, and that, and you're only in the moment. That's all there is, and there's no future, no past, and all that. Like John.
No, this is all imagination based on the finite condition of man, who says, "Okay, well, I remember that." But I'm looking forward to that. So therefore, I'm not here. Okay, but my being in this particular situation means that I am totally here. Now, what am I going to do at 6 o'clock? I'll let you know at 6 o'clock. I may go to dinner. I may get a phone call. I may not get a phone call. I may go home and play with my parrot, you know?
You got parrot?
Oh, yeah,
you
man.
Do? Parrot?
Oh, yeah.
Cockatoo or a parrot?
A parrot, a legit parrot, man.
Does it talk? Does it fly around? Or
he's got control of the house. He can do whatever he wants,
that's
man.
Wonderful, man.
Including boom, boom. I said, hey, man, don't do that over there. Do that in your cage, you know.
Come and sit on your hand, your shoulders.
He hangs out on my shoulder. You
can put a pirate on there. You can put a hook in your hand and be a pirate saying, matey,
if you want to get, lame, you can do that, I guess. But, like if you want to just function in reality, what is reality?
Thank you. That's a very big.
What is reality, man?
Tell me. I mean,
I'm going to tell you what reality. You know what's real, man?
What's real?
This is real.
That's a synergy between two systems.
Exactly. Now, if there was a third person, Josh, in the control room,
he's there.
He's an aspect of it.
He's doing it by extension of these technological.
That's correct.
He's the most important man in this building. Putting this down on tape.
Okay. His technical ability is based on the fact that he got that.
And Fred, don't forget Fred. Fred, he's his assistant who's watching.
Fred's the assistant.
Is also that team, and they're working as a team.
Good, as long as they're happy.
That's a good,
Okay, but the thing is, he got that information the way I got my information, the way you got your information from past experiences of others. So therefore,
that's true.
How can anyone say that they are original? The only original thing is the perception of the person themselves as to their functionality within the society and culture that they work through.
That's an interesting take on it.
Man.
Fuller used to talk to groups. I like Fuller, obviously.
Yeah, Fuller's cool dude,
I think everybody.
I dug him,
He was really good. And he used to talk to audiences huge, you got to be famous after a long life of just design science, anticipatory that he was doing with design, artists, architecture and all that. But he used to talk to a group of 1,000 people in an audience. Anybody heard of the word synergy?
Yeah.
No hand would go up. Everybody knew energy, but nobody knew
synergy.
Synergy is the behavior of systems unpredicted by the sum of the parts. There's something more. You see this thing about the
yes, the geodesic dome.
No. It's geodesic, and it goes through, and then it gets through, and then you've got that this informing of this whole system, which was steady state at a certain level, it's moving like that, okay? And it gets through, and there's a synergy more than the sum of the parts. What was going on between you and me is a synergy.
That's correct.
It's a resonancy.
That's
and
correct.
You go molecular, everything is resonancy.
That's why I like fractals, man. You know, fractals. I love fractals.
I met
man.
Mandelbrot briefly, but
did you really?
I never briefed, but I could never get a program arranged.
Mandelbrot really had it going on, and like when they invented the software, so you could play around with that, no matter what it is.
Have you seen Electronic Sheep? That's a screensaver.
I've seen that.
It's really good. I think they've got that playing. That's Scott Draves, I think, and
I don't know who the person is.
He's the one who put it together. A brilliant guy. He's in link with Kurzweil. Good guy. Good guy. Anyway, I think they're displaying it on a big screen at Google headquarters.
Yeah.
You know, it's a self-replicate. You know, coming off fractal. Okay. But anyway, more important, you said a couple things. You said something about you used a couple terms. One was the universe and so forth. And then there was a couple of other terms that had some sort of link to some state of being. What is it all about, Alfie? If we look at things in a materialistic sense in the Western tradition, we are understanding that we now know. Does it seem to you, Stephen, that every day it comes in over the transom like a quickening in a pregnancy? Every day there's coming a revolution in every field, everywhere.
Absolutely, yeah. Plus we're into that. Everything is growing geometrically.
Yeah, no, exponentially.
Exponentially.
It is. It's going like this.
Yeah.
It's signaling that we're at a time of uniqueness now. As Asimov said, this is the defining generation in terms of our understanding of the existence, our existence within universe, within an evolutionary context. As we get weapons that can wipe out the whole species.
That's great,
and
man.
That we may
it's called HARP. Okay. They're going to come to your house, man. I got it.
Okay. Anyway, no, but it's that he used to cast about. Fuller would cast about that the second law of thermodynamics. It says that, and that's operative everywhere. Apparently, and it says that within a second law says within a closed system that all systems move toward entropy in the universe. All systems move toward entropy or disarray to the limits of the system. One of the questions comes up with string theory now, with Brian Greene and Michio Kaku, is that it's very isn't it something? You've got an ability to take the measure of things. They got the Wilkinson satellite array where they can take a picture of the shock wave of the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, man. Within 200,000 years of its occurrence. They got that from Wilkinson. And out of CERN, they got one that was going to be able to take the picture of that within, I think it got defunded by the baloney that's going on now. But within a nanosecond of its occurrence. That's a pretty good measure.
That's cool, that'd be interesting,
But Fuller used to cast about and say, what's it all about?
The rent. That's what it's all about, man. I'll tell you what it's about for me. It's about getting the proper reed, so I can play properly.
Oh, you play sax?
I play tenor,
I got a friend of mine lives in my building, Ornette Coleman. Do you know Ornette?
Of course I know Ornette. I don't know him. I know of Ornette Coleman.
He's a great guy. Great sense of humor. Really a beautiful
He laughs at it all too, I bet.
Right. Oh, yeah, he's great. He's Fuller. I find they all can coalesce in a degree around Fuller. But anyway, Fuller used to cast about, and he would say the second law. I don't want to go into string theory because there could be parallel universes, the mathematics shows. So we don't even know if it's a closed or the universe is synergetic, and the universe and processes within it are in. So that the biological evolutionary process is a counter, an anti-entropic, synergetic function in universe, so that the evolution of consciousness so that around the idea of human. Do you think there's any purpose that can be discerned that could give identity to humanity in terms of what's it all about? What is our purpose in life?
Our purpose in life is to express the desire of the creative power of the universe, man, and don't give it any other definition, because you're put here for a particular reason.
What reason?
You're put here, I'm going to tell you, specifically, okay?
This is a big issue.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay, right. Spoken like a good Zen master,
You are here for the specific reason at this point in time to talk to me.
Okay, all right.
I am here at this particular time to speak to you. who's ever watching.
Be here now, Alpert said.
Be here, don't be here, it's all the same thing. What's the difference between insanity and genius is like, what did you have for breakfast,
Do you know how many cells there are in a human organism?
Who cares, man?
No, well, I do. I'm sorry.
I know there's billions of them.
No, you know how many? Can you imagine?
Cells?
Cells, yeah, cells.
Go ahead.
That's everything. A lot of it's bacteria. And we all walk in a sea of bacteria. And it's all one.
We're all an aspect of string theory as well,
String theory is new. That's just come. That's the mathematics. And it may or may not be. So the thing is, even if we
muons,
we were contained in a form of evolution called.
Here comes the nose.
Go ahead, blow your nose. A thing called Australopithecine, that's Lucy, 4 million years ago. We did not exist in the pattern that we could know on the Earth. Now we're at a point of coming to a new relationship in the universe in terms of a process of moving across entropy. That thing that I was showing, that function, we're moving that way, we're moving, and we need to have a thing that informs the whole. It now, you got Alexander the Great running off, you got Hitler, you got all kinds of male things going off in all kinds of directions, serve one little small interest. They want, what we need is something that goes through the whole and informs everything, including the ecology. That's what we have to do. And we got weapons that can wipe out the species. That's interesting. That could wipe out evolution.
Yeah.
And we've also transcended material scarcity coming out of it from a Western model.
Yeah. So then why are people hungry, man?
Well, because we have not woken up.
So it's folks like you and I that are going to wake these imbeciles up.
Well, I don't see anybody's an imbecile. We're all been trapped in ignorance.
Anybody that tries to impose control.
No, you want it so that they don't. Don't you think all of our institutions are more or less authoritarian?
Of course they're all authoritarian.
Have they always been such since?
No, they haven't always been. They became that way when they started looking. Well, in order for something to function, it's got to have sustenance.
Yeah.
So however that sustenance comes, so if you say you're going to open up a school, and I agree with your philosophy, here, and I'm a millionaire guy, boom, here you go. Make sure you're teaching them this, that, and the other thing, okay? So you attract to yourself what it is that you need to identify yourself.
Yeah, okay, there's different things like that, but this is a crucial moment and everything. And what do you think? Let me just ask you, the kids or the people who are not, there's a revolt going on now. It's called a Wall Street occupation.
Yeah, that's cute.
I think it's wonderful.
I think it's great, man.
Because they're questioning the whole system. There's a questioning.
Wow, that's new. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. Spartacus tried, right?
Yeah.
And everything, and these other people out of history and everything. But it's now maybe coming to the point where they're going to have to come up with that resonating whole that includes these things in terms of the we have weapons that can wipe out the species from extended consciousness, okay? This is Western. We got that. That's a serious matter.
Psychic warfare. You got that going on, too.
Well, that's another thing. We've had that. But then in history, I see it as a nightmare of injustice and so on. But and then on the other side, we may well have transcended material scarcity, and that's where we're fighting over everything, setting up institutions. That a qualitative paradigm, will bring us into it's like, guys, did you ever jam with others?
Of course.
Yeah, you jam with others, and you know what happens when you get in sync? And you're really in sync, and there's a thing, and there's a vibe and everything, and it gets really out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really break through.
Yeah.
If you get a humanity, 100 trillion cells in a human organism, and every cell matters.
Yeah, so.
They need, see? We got people, that woman inside, that cell is not operating manual. We can transcend scarcity and provide for everyone.
Of course,
and the ecology.
there's enough on the planet right now.
It's never been until about 1970 by the modeling. What I'm saying, out of a Western modeling.
Okay.
So we live in a time of qualitative paradigm. All the institutions we've inherited in the Western model are out of date. And we got a point of that. So you said that. So the purpose is to move across that, and then that will bring us into a resonancy. Gaia. Do you like James Lovelock?
Yeah, I also like Dolly's concept of Gaia.
Dalai Lama. No, Dali. Oh, Dali. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
great, isn't
yeah,
he?
yeah,
What a
yeah.
sense of humor,
Yeah,
too,
very,
man.
very funny.
Yeah,
very
yeah,
funny
the
guy.
artists. God bless the artists and the bohemians.
Yeah. By the way, incidentally,
say
the way to
something. I'm
think,
ranting here.
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, yeah.
But the way to really get it going,
Yeah.
okay, where everybody functions according to their needs and the needs of humanity,
And
is they
everybody
have to base their ideas on winning. Everybody must be a winner.
Everybody. No, wait a minute. Everybody's a winner.
Everybody is not a winner. Let me finish.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, there goes my
everybody
dream of
has to
utopia.
be a
Yeah.
winner.
Okay. Everybody has to be a winner, but not
Okay.
everybody's a winner.
And when you win, you have to win for the benefit of all concerned.
Okay, good. Yeah.
With
That's
yourself
good.
as the primary recipient of
Do you
good.
realize 100 trillion cells are organized in a way that everyone matters, everyone's part of a system?
Every one of them is healthy.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, they have to all be healthy.
No, they don't have to be. They are healthy.
Well,
and if
they
they're
are-
not,
they
it's
aren't.
because you are not thinking right.
Well, maybe so if you do that. That's maybe
Okay. That's what this is all about.
Okay.
That's what this is all about.
What is it called again?
Self-reveal. Get the camera on that. Self-revealization acceptance.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
This will free you from you.
No, free from myself.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God, what a thought.
See, because one of the
Here
things,
it
for
is,
example,
Stephen F. Kaufman.
Stephen F. Kaufman, yeah, and you can find out more about me at Hanshi, HANSHI.com.
Yeah, we got it at the end.
The
We'll put it
thing
on.
is, for example, when you are free from yourself, you can have more pleasure.
Yeah.
And the reason is because your preconceived notions are not interfering with what you
Does it matter?
think you should be
does
digging.
Does it matter, or is there a point in thinking about how there's something to be thought about when everybody, let's just say everybody in the world is able to be, maybe we have a condition that's possible where everybody in the world would be able to realize their full potential.
That's absolutely a given. That's a given, man.
Without any authoritarian need to do what someone outer directed think, that they're going to be able to, that we'll have a resonancy, a resonancy that'll interaccommodate us to universe at a level it's like we have to go to speciation in a materialistic understanding of this moment of time. We could have lived 600 years ago. It was a whole different world. Everything was different. It's now come, that thing again, that's
right.
Is coming, and we're coming to that point now.
Yes.
What do you think of the kids downtown that are saying we got to change everything?
Let them do it, man. Didn't we hear that in the 60s?
Yeah, we did.
Didn't we hear that with Martin
Both
Luther?
of the let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stephen. Both of the modeling about the weapon systems.
Yeah.
That's extension. That's realpolitik. All the
Absolutely.
Rome, everything like that. That reached, they didn't, even you were old enough to remember 62 with the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Absolutely.
They were going to destroy civilization. Really scary, but it wasn't then species, they got species lethal about 1970. Woodstock wasn't sex, drugs, and rock and roll and a party. It was a whole lot of other things going on.
Yes, absolutely.
And on the other side, it's also when the modeling shows that by modeling, and can be understood intellectually if you want, or that the percentage of the world population that could be seen to be halved was increasing through time in the modern era, and it went 10, 20, 30.
That's right.
Fuller said we had a 20-year period from 52.
That's why it's essential that we maintain.
That it crossed the 50% mark. World population, thinking ecologically, everything.
That's right. That's why it's essential.
1970 is a grounding year. There was something going on. We've been wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. For 40-odd years. Yeah. And the point, that's what I'm trying to get at in terms of purpose. And that will bring us into a resonancy that will interaccommodate us to a universe, and the universe is synergetic. Something more than the sum of the parts.
Absolutely.
Particularly if you take in time.
The totality of it all.
Makes sense?
That's right.
It makes this the most interesting time ever and challenging time ever to be conscious.
There's no doubt about it. This all began with the Industrial Revolution.
Well,
it's where it started.
I think it began 200,000 years ago.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
appeared.
but it started really moving along at that point.
Yeah, and
that's why it's essential that we maintain the space program.
Well, I think it's a shame. DeGrasse Tyson's very upset they didn't put that CERN telescope in. It was going to call Lisa. My daughter's name's Lisa. Yeah. It was going to give us a picture of the shock wave of this universe 13.8 billion years ago within a nanosecond. Now, that's a mark of our being able to take the measure of things from this Western tradition of building from material understanding or that to where they begin to understand universe in large terms. Now, I don't quite understand all the Eastern stuff.
See, what I would be curious about, what I would like to see.
Are you based in your Judaic traditions, or does that have meaning or not in terms of this, or do you get into the Eastern tradition that takes you away from that, or
I've been influenced by all. I'm Jewish, okay, and I don't have a problem with that, okay. And the thing is, I have studied that to the degree that I have, and I started finding. You got to remember one thing.
What's that?
Every orthodoxy is its own heresy.
Thank you very much. There are no absolutes.
There are no absolutes.
Right.
On the finite level.
Right, okay, that's right. Yeah, so all of the things that claim that, and claim to know what that larger reality is.
By studying, by studying all of these religions and all of these philosophies, and don't forget, I'm not 30 years old anymore.
Geopolitics and stuff too,
Yeah, well, politics, it's like, I ran for office, by the way.
I know.
I found what a hand job that was, man.
Did you win? You couldn't win?
Well, no, I think I went after the incumbent who had more money than you and me put together, if that's possible.
Lose.
Just a minute.
In our political
and she was an incumbent over there, and I ran. I really laid it in for about 4 to 5 months.
Good. I'm glad you.
Yeah, and I got 27% of the vote without any money, without any backing, without any direction.
Imagine what you could have done if you had Gates behind you.
Well, if I'd have had people who, I even had people in the party that were saying, you're never going to win.
Which party did you run?
Was it? I ran on a Republican ticket.
On the Republican.
Okay, but I was actually apolitical.
You could be right up on the stage with all the candidates now, right up there with Ron Paul and Guy.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, like, what's going to happen? You see, a lot of people are under the impression once you break down the system, the two-party system, there's no more parties.
That's dialectic.
Yeah, forget it, man.
Right.
Next guy comes in, nobody. I mean, you got to wait for generations to transpire, man.
The behavior system's unpredictable, and what will come, it might
That's right.
It'll emerge out of that, but it's an exciting time to be alive, is it not?
Yeah.
Particularly.
I'm here. I wouldn't know. I wasn't around 100 years ago, man. That might have been exciting, too.
Right.
If I rode off into the West with the Lone Ranger.
I mean, it's not your kind of thing, given your philosophy and all. And I really appreciate for introducing me to it. We couldn't even show all the books.
I know. One major book.
Okay, one more we'll get in, but do it quick. We've only got a couple
is Portraits of the Living Tao. Now, these are photographs. Get on that, man.
Yeah, he will. Give him time. Give him time. Be patient.
Well, we haven't got time to be patient. Okay. These are photos by Peggy Thompson. She is one of the foremost naturalist photographers alive today.
Aren't they beautiful?
She is fantastic, man.
Yeah.
I call her my Lady of the Mountain.
Okay, good.
Okay. The other ones, I've got all kinds of stuff here. Book just came out by Paladin Press. Let's run this quick. The Art of Stick Fighting, Self-Defense, very important. Okay. Also, you have my 2 novels.
Okay, we can't do it. We got to stop with this.
Good.
The Hanshi, is that what it's of
The Hanshi of Central Park, fantastic novel. And the second in the series, The Hanshi in Brussels.
Okay.
There you go, boom.
Touch the surface. Give them your website again, quick.
www.hanshi.com.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. We only got about a minute left. Are you optimistic, pessimistic that we are now?
I enjoy this. We should do this again.
We're going to become friends, obviously. But the thing is that are you optimistic? We have the ability, apparently, at our own hands, in our own condition now, in our own intellectual, our capability to either annihilate our entire species or truly, in a fullest sense of the word, liberate it and the ecology, including everybody.
You got to liberate yourself first.
Are you okay? Well, whatever. If that can't be done, or something. But are you optimistic or pessimistic in terms of what's likely to emerge over this period ahead?
It's going to be a very, very positive growth pattern.
You think so?
The world's not going to end, man, because after December 2012. With the Mayan calendar. You know what's going to happen the next day?
What's going to happen?
You're going to get your visa bill. Okay? So, all of these things are nice, unless they break down the whole banking system, which is cool.
Yeah, but don't you understand this?
Which would kill everybody.
You don't sense the existentially significant moment in which you and I sit here and talk?
No.
You don't. Okay, good. Thanks for that. That brings a lot of weight off my shoulders, brother.
No, this is as fun. This is as fun as you can be. There you go. sfk422@gmail.com.
Okay, thank you very much for viewing. His name is
Hanshi Stephen.